Hello, and welcome to the second installment of Waiting on the Trade, the Dream Journal. I'm Patrick Fitzgerald Fleck, and joining me is my constant friend and companion, Matt Ledger.
Hello again.
And of course, Mike Drew.
I'm always here, always watching.
You're supposed to say whom.
Oh, whom? Hello.
This week, we're diving into the second volume of the Sandman called The Doll's House. Matthew, if you would be so kind to give us a summary.
Yes, I do have a summary of The Doll's House.
Such preparation.
In The Doll's House, Morpheus seeks out lost residents of the Dreaming, including Brutenglob, the Corinthian, and Fiddler's Green. Meanwhile, the human Rose Walker is reunited with family members young and old, and Desire plays a game all their own. We're on singular there, by the way, for Desire. I don't like it. It's, weird. It's like turning a person into an object.
I prefer they, them, myself.
Yeah, there is part of they, them, so we're good.
Yeah.
It's the possessive form.
No, I was approving.
Let me show my English major off, Pat. Just let me.
All right. Okay.
That was
Talk
me.
about Desire's teeth.
Well, if we're gonna talk about teeth, what about her teeth?
They're unnaturally straight and unnaturally white. Does that mean that people desire perfect dental work?
Beauty?
I think it depends which country you live in.
Okay.
I think beauty is something that is desirable, yes.
Very good. Okay. Now that we've established that was my one point for the entire.
Oh, was that your discussion?
That was my discussion. People want perfect teeth. People want that.
What is your take on dental hygiene?
What is your take on perfect teeth?
Honestly, guys, haven't been to the dentist in 6 to 8 years.
Yeah, I'm not comfortable in saying how long it's been.
Let's
so
not talk
we're
about
moving
this.
on.
That I'm gonna drink. Moving on.
My mom doesn't listen to the podcast, so it's fine. Dog.
Mine does, so I might have to cut this. Moving on. No, this time around, as we did last, we all brought our own individual discussion questions to help narrow our focus and cut the length. All right, Mike? Cut the length.
Mike tried to bring 2 questions again. We're not having this anymore.
One question.
Not having it.
I'm sorry. What can I say? I like talking.
Do we have a preferred order? Mike, do you want to go first? Matt?
So I actually think your question is probably the best first question, Pat.
I agree. Matt's is inferior to Patrick's, and mine is.
I mean, that's true. My question is basic bullshit, but I think it's the right time to use the basic bullshit. Pat's question is better, though. I think it's a good opening question, too.
Very good.
So my question this week, gentlemen, is if you were going to give this volume a theme, what kind of theme do you think this volume would get?
So it's definitely about people following their desires and how that pays off in ways good and bad, and usually bad. Like, it's kind of in, like, Mike was actually talking about this in our text message thread. Like, people's desires actually kind of manipulate them throughout this volume into situations that they otherwise wouldn't have been in. Like, Fiddler's Green becomes curious about what it would be like to be a person instead of a place. Like, he desires to be a person. So he goes off out of the dreaming to do that. The entire opening chapter is about Dream's desire for Nada, right? A mortal woman. Even so how do you fit that Hobbes story in, right? But like, Hobbes' story is he doesn't want to die, he desires to live. Like, it's kind of weird to use that as the quote unquote theme, because most fictional stories are about people who want things.
I say motivations are basically just desires, right? When you boil it down.
Yeah, but what really sells it for me is when we get that it's like a cutaway of the doll's house, or like the house where Rose is living as she's searching for her brother, and it's the montage of everyone living in the house and their different dreams, which are all about their desires. So it's something about the interplay between those two things, right? And that's why the main story begins and ends with desire also. So like somewhere in there, the theme exists. Like, it needs to be teased out still throughout the rest of the discussion, but like, that's the stuff that I'm just kicking around coming into the podcast.
I think they pretty succinctly say what the theme is. I can't I can't say I'm responsible enough to have written down the page it was on, but during that montage where you're looking at the doll's house and Rose kind of not playing with it, but there's a pane where they literally write out what the theme of the story is, and I remember reading it in the kind of haze that I was reading it in late at night after everyone's asleep, and it really hit me. Like I'm like, oh shit, this is the theme of the book, and then I forgot what it is because this is perfect Mike Drew.
Is it
Perfect example of Mike Drewisms.
all of them seeking a place to belong, all of them seeking a place to be safe?
No,
Okay. I'm looking. I've got sees how thin and fragile the walls that divide them truly are.
Yes, something like that about how thin the paper is that divides them from the madness that is all the. I don't.
Yeah, so the page, Mike, if you want to flip to it and rediscover, is 193.
I was just on 193.
Well, it's 193 in my volume. I have the like quote unquote original one because I got again 2 different volumes from the library because I wanted to see
You
the
get the
difference.
uncolored one or the original coloring, I should say.
Yeah, I kept the original coloring one. I looked at both the recoloring and the original coloring,
I
and
saw some original coloring and it was a little rough.
so it is a little rough. So, like tangent here while Mike figures out what his answer to the question is because we've got some time anyways. The coloring in the original one is less technically proficient, but I prefer it in spots because it's so like it's kind of jarring and I kind of appreciate that. There's a sequence early on where Dream is talking to Lucian in the dreaming.
Hmm.
And in the original version, there's like a lot more different colors going on in that scene. And in the recolored version, it's much more coherent, but it's like it's all a dark blue and black and white sort of palette. Like it fits together better, but like the stained glass window that shows up in that, like it's a double page spread, but it's vertical,
Yeah.
is not colored. Like it's darker and like I kind of prefer it being colored, so I ended up keeping the original. But
Oh shit!
oh,
Sorry.
I
Go
got
ahead.
it. I did it exactly enough. No, I was pretty much done. You like
Perfect.
you got
No,
it.
it was not 193. I'm near the end. I was actually in the last book. So page 222 for those who care to actually look. It's one of the blank panes on that page because I remember looking at this page and I'm like, this is weird. There's 2 panes that have absolutely no art on them, and that's strange for this book because they don't usually give up space for no art. But on the one of the blurbs is it means that we're just dolls. We don't have a clue what's really going down. We're all just dolls in this dollhouse. No one actually has any control over anything. We're all just kind of slaves to our true desires, to our true wants, and it comes right at the end of the book, like literally within 3 or 4 pages of the ending. And I'm like, well, shit, there it is.
I mean, literal desire messed with her. Like the reason why she exists is because desire fucked with them literally. Like the entity of desire impregnated her
Absolutely.
grandmother to like create her. Rose Walker is the direct result of desire's meddling. So in that way, she is basically a toy that desire played with for their own amusement, right?
Yeah, and it's the twist at the end is interesting too, though, where Morpheus says that basically they wouldn't exist without humanity also. So like we've got one of those nice Back to the Future grandfather loops going on between Desire and Rose in a weird way, right?
Yeah, I sort of get what they were saying, like because I think one of the common threads that Gaiman and has in a few of his stories,
They
especially
seem
American
to be
Gods, is that gods exist because of the worship, the beliefs of mortals empowers gods, and without worshiping or believers, they would cease to be, or at least be greatly diminished. Aren't the endless outside of that though?
I kind of think so, but at the same time, like I think it's to a different
I think they're
degree.
affected by mortals for sure. So I guess in that way. But they're
So
called endless because they've always been and they always will be, right?
the one that I like have a really hard time reconciling that with is Destiny, right? Because
Yeah.
like death, yeah, sort of like as long as something exists, death has to exist so the thing can die. So if the thing dies, death is gone. Okay, but like I guess so like when the heat death of the universe happens, is Destiny gone too then? Like
I think they get into
then
that death will take Destiny's book at the end, and she'll be all that remains. Like they say that later on. But yeah, I think Destiny has always been and death will always be, is basically how it'll end up being.
Huh.
It's weird.
it was a little weird.
But then desire and dream, wouldn't they still exist if death is still around? Because in theory, wouldn't death desire? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to take.
I don't know if endless. I mean, obviously, Dream has desires, right? Because
Yeah.
he's he's doing a lot of that in this.
Yeah, their relationship throughout this volume and then much later on, and like, guys, we gotta get to Overture. Overture's so like so interesting, but like the relationship between Dream and I feel like is probably the most compelling because they're just like,
Dream and desire, you said?
yeah, Dream and Desire, because like they're at odds in a way that I think none of the other Endless are for some reason, and that's kind of like when I was kicking everything around. That's sort of what I was hoping we could unpack. Even is like, why are they so at odds? Is it because your dreams often contain your desires, but you can't actually realize them? What is that? And we don't have to do it all in this episode too, because we'll have another go at it,
What?
obviously.
Yeah, because
No.
it's another thing that this volume, it's hard to give it a theme because it basically kicks off so much for the rest of the series. It started here.
My question almost was, what dangling plot thread are you most excited to see come back? But I kind of felt that could lead us into spoiler territory in a way I didn't want to do. But like,
Right.
yeah, the question was there because there is so much that's seated in this volume, which is really early on, that's kind of come back way near the end.
Yeah, yeah. And I talked to you guys about this before we recorded, but the fact that this was the first volume that was published before Preludes and Nocturnes, the first, what, 8 issues weren't in this volume, weren't the first volume to be collected in a trade. It was these. That makes sense, right? Because this is where the Sandman story really gets started.
Yeah, you don't
Pre-
necessarily need the first. So you said the death issue was collected in this initially, right?
yeah, the Sound
Yeah.
of Her Wings was originally part of this. Which, I mean, I
That's
guess when you're
weird.
looking at the issues, you're like, well, I can't leave out Sound of Her Wings because that's like the best thing I've ever read. So
Well,
let's go toss that one in there.
it does
Pretty
also
much
introduce death, which is like
is a huge deal. You need to have.
is a huge deal for the rest of the story. So there's that.
Sure, but she's not really in this other than that one issue.
Yeah, that's
But
true. But yeah, it is like if you were what in the 90s or whatever when trade paperbacks were so much less of a thing, like I could totally see DC being like, we don't really need to print the first volume as a trade as like or the first 7 issues as a trade paperback because is anyone gonna buy it? Turns out people will buy it.
I mean, yeah, it
DC
turns out.
Comics.
Yeah, and they definitely released it real quick. I think it released the same time as the third volume came out. So
Okay, that
they
that
got
makes
that
sense.
together quick. But yeah, so you don't really need the first one. And this is like, yeah, this kicks off a lot of stuff, which is exciting. And yeah, I think I would agree with your theming, Matt. I probably would say, and you too, Mike, the fact that it's
Oh, thank you.
free will and whether or not it's a thing, like it's hard to have the debate in the universe where there's literally an entity called destiny.
Like whether free will is a thing.
Yeah, like I guess in this universe it isn't.
I mean, that's
So
unanswered.
here's the deal though, is like when we see Destiny, and this is jumping ahead a little bit too, like he never really knows what's gonna happen in the book. Like he could be surprised by the book. So
But
like
it's
it's
already
not like
been
he's
written though.
well, sure, but has it been written because people are going to make the choices and therefore are people still making the choices? I would argue yes. Like The guy looks ahead in the book and is like, "Oh, I'm gonna do that." Like maybe for him, his free will is a little suspect, but like everyone else, like they're not really being controlled by the book. They're like
You're saying because
writing
they
in
don't
real
have
time.
knowledge of what
Yeah.
is written in the book, their actions aren't dictated by it. But
Yeah,
it's
I
weird
mean,
because then if it's like Schrodinger's destiny, like you don't look at the destiny. Do you have one?
yeah. So it's like, can you do anything that's not in the book? No. Does that mean that you're not choosing to do what's in the book? Also, no.
See, that's gonna drive me insane though. Then that's not
Yeah.
really free will.
Well, that was
Then
easy. Jeez.
what driving me
Yeah,
insane?
we got there. I thought it would take a little longer, but
Episode
mean,
2 only.
yeah.
God, my God. Yeah, I would agree that the majority of this is about desire. Obviously, it starts off with Tales in the Sand, which is just a story of dreams, desire, of mortal love.
Was screwing with him in that one too. Like
Desire?
Desire probably
She
screwed
said
with it, right?
she says
Absolutely.
in the beginning of the doll's house when we're seeing her in despair talk, she says Despaire's like, "Oh, you're trying to get him into your machinations again. Remember what happened last time?" And Desire's like, "Yeah, Nadia was a mistake." She
Ah,
straight
right.
up says,
That's right. I forgot. I didn't get a chance to reread this one as much as I wanted to, but like, yeah, this one's so much about the interplay between people's desires and their real life, I guess, too. So maybe again, that's the thing is like, dream represents a world where you can realize your hidden desires or the desires that you can't realize in real life. I don't know. Their relationship is so fascinating to me throughout the whole run, and
"I'm wondering,
especially in this one.
like, desire wants everything, right? It's like,
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, and Dream has everything if you think about it that way, right? Like,
yeah, but like, Dream is also one of the three elder endless, right? Like,
yeah,
so I would assume that power is one of the things that desire would be
desiring.
desiring. So maybe it's just that
But she doesn't fuck with death. She doesn't fuck with destiny.
that we know of.
I mean, I would think the power levels shoot up pretty drastically once you go from
You're
sibling
talking
3 to sibling 2 to sibling 1.
Super Saiyan 1 to Super Saiyan 2 or however that works.
And maybe they just don't want to fuck with that. I don't know. Like,
Yes.
Dream seems like they would get moody. Death, I think, if you got on her bad side. Or even Destiny. I don't know if I want to mess with the man who holds the book.
Ah, but he just holds the book. He doesn't write the book.
I mean, you don't know what he does with it. Are you watching him at all times? He could
No,
take that book
that's
with him to
true.
the bathroom, man. I don't know.
If a page goes missing, who's gonna know other than Destiny?
He just has a little like container of whiteout hidden in his sleeve for when people piss him off. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't know if there is like a clear theme in the volume, but I feel like we got a good discussion out of it at the very least.
I think desire and free will, because it's called Doll's House, and they keep hitting on it over and over again. Like, desire lives in a house shaped as a doll of themselves. It's a literal doll house,
With immaculate dental work.
and yeah, like everything, like almost the entirety of this novel is kicked off because desire's messing with Dream.
Why though? But why though?
It's in their nature, I guess, just as dreams is to be.
Brothers and sisters, you know? I don't know.
Like, I'm gonna keep an eye out for that as we keep rereading because I don't remember if we ever get this is why desire just keeps messing with him all the time.
I think they do explore the relationship more, obviously, because it ain't done yet,
Oh,
which is fun.
all right. Shall we move on?
Sure.
So I think my question is good to do next because I think Mike's question has a correct answer. So,
Interesting.
I don't know. I still have not quite. I still have not made a decision for mine, but we'll.
Of course.
in true Mike Drew fashion. But my question was, which new character who we meet in this volume is your favorite? Because this, like we talked about, this volume's laying a lot of groundwork for what's coming up in the future. And some of that groundwork is that we meet a lot of characters that are either going to reoccur or come back in certain ways. So I'm curious who y'all liked.
I'll go first.
Sure.
I like Desire. Honestly, they are they're a very intriguing character, and I think it's going to be interesting to see them in the future. Like just seeing that interplay between her and them between them and
Noted.
Dream is maybe it says something about me that I think of a Desire as a woman. Anyways, it's going to be interesting. Like even just looking at this, if I didn't know there was more, I would be like, all right, there's something weird between those two. But it's I'm excited to see where that goes. My follow-up answer would be, I think it's Rose. I think I'm expecting her to come back. Like, there's no way she doesn't, right? Like, she's kind of the main character of this. I'm sure she's going to be coming back.
I don't remember if she does,
He
honestly.
makes appearances. I don't think it's huge. I don't remember though for sure.
I guess she did kind of play her role. I'm sorry. Or Fiddler's Green. I hope Fiddler's Green comes back just because I love him. He's so good. He's too pure.
Mike Drew likes all characters.
He's too pure. He's too pure. He goes whom, and then he offers to die because he's he's too good for everyone. What is he not too good for? He's too good for Dream even. Like Dream doesn't
I
deserve.
mean, he tells a pretty creepy Red Riding Hood story.
He does tell it. That's a good Red Riding Hood story. Like all the fancy schmancy Red Riding Hood stories where the huntsman comes along and say no.
Yeah, they hardly ever force Red Riding Hood to eat her grandma.
Yeah,
it's a nice little addition there.
They should always do that. Her grandma is tasty, and it was a waste of meat to not eat her. So therefore, also it's like a turducken. So there you go.
Wait, what are they stuffing grandma?
I'm talking about for the wolf, because after she eats the
Oh,
grandma, then the wolf can eat
it's
her,
true.
and then it's like a turducken. So it's perfect.
It's great.
See, Mike, I don't know how you could possibly think that you bring the podcast down.
I can guarantee Turducken was not going to enter this podcast.
No, we
until
never would have
you.
gotten to Red Riding Hood.
You,
with
Michael
Turducken.
Drew.
You're welcome.
Oh man.
I appreciate that you enjoy so many characters in the volume. I do really love that page on 213 where Fiddler's Green turns back from a dude into a place. It's very good.
I like when
It is good.
Unity comments how beautiful the place is, and Roger's like, "Thanks."
It was a friend of mine, yeah. That transition from person to place, like, and being an entity that is both is really interesting and like gives you so much neat stuff to play with.
It feels very Gaiman-esque.
Yeah. Yeah, I did really like Matthew the Raven's comment too, which Matthew the Raven will become my favorite character, but he has not yet.
Oh,
As
he's
of this
not
volume.
currently.
That seems
Okay.
self.
No, he was just introduced. It's not because his name is Matthew. He's just trying to do his fucking job, man. He's just trying to do his job. He's just trying to be a dream raven.
Did you know that he's a character from Swamp Thing?
No, I did not.
He's a human in the Swamp Thing series, I guess.
Okay, that makes sense because I don't think we ever like get the entirety of his backstory in Sandman.
Yeah, I guess Dream shows up and offers him a position as his Raven.
What? We'll have to find that and read it.
I know. It's crazy.
That's ridiculous.
Never read it. Didn't know it was there.
I did some research for this.
Is it a Gaiman episode? Is it a Gaiman issue of Swamp Thing?
I don't know.
Okay. Well, now I'm gonna find out. I bet it is. I think he wrote a little bit of Swamp Thing somewhere in there. Pat, who is your favorite character in this volume?
It's a tough one. There were so many interesting new characters. The collectors, just that issue alone has a lot of interesting characters show up in that one.
But are they your favorite, or do they suck though?
Look, it's favorite for this volume, right?
Yeah,
sure.
Okay. I mean, you can like a thing and the thing can be horrible. Like,
no, I know, I agree.
It can be an awful. Like the Corinthian is up there for my favorite characters in this volume, just because it's just so horrific. But no, I think I like Hob Gadling. Gadling.
Yep.
Dream's friend that is granted immortality in Men of Good Fortune.
See, I got a bone to pick with him though, because I've sat in many a bar drunkenly stupering about how I'm awesome, and no one has ever come to make me immortal.
Well,
Have you said that you're not going to die though?
I guess
Have you tried that?
I guess I haven't. Next time at a bar, I'll try that when I'm drunk. Maybe it'll work.
the fool's game. Mike, I don't think you want immortality. I don't think you would want it.
You're probably right. I don't.
You have a wife and 2 small children. I don't think you want
You're
immortality.
right. You are absolutely right. In fact, the sooner
I
I
do
can
re-
check out, the better.
I did
Mike, you have a
recently.
wife and 2 small children. You got to live a little bit, okay?
Yeah. Somewhere like middle ground, Mike.
Okay.
Middle
Yeah.
ground between
A
dying
happy
immediately and
medium
living
between,
forever.
All
yeah.
right. A few years, though.
Happy
That's
medium.
fine.
All right.
Maybe like 100 or something like that.
Yeah.
We'll see how
43.
climate change goes. And yeah, we'll see.
44.
We'll see.
It's so hot today, you guys. Anyway,
You were saying that.
no, I was just saying, Hob is refreshing, especially because I recently watched the Capaldi episode of Doctor Who that's got Arya in it, where like I don't remember what her name in the episode is, but it's the actress who
It's
plays Arya.
Nobody.
Oh, is it?
I think it's nobody, yeah.
Okay, yeah, so it's nobody, right? And like she lives forever and she gets just like really pissed off for quite a long time because she does the thing that you think Mike would do, Pat. Like she watches everyone around her die.
I mean, that's
And it
what immortality is going to get you at the end.
Yeah, but like that's not what Hob does. Hob's like, yeah, I'd love to keep living the whole
Yeah, well,
time, even through the plague and them taking all his money.
he talks about having a wife and a child,
Yep.
but the wife dies in childbirth and the kid only lives for like 20 years.
Yep.
And then he never talks about having a family again. So I think it did hit him. I think there's a reason why we don't hear of other wives and children after that.
Yeah, but at the same time, like he doesn't call it a day because he easily could.
Sure, but again, it was a short, like that wife wasn't like in the grand scheme of the 600 years that he's lived.
Yeah, that's
They
true.
were only there for like a fraction of
His
it.
kid was only alive for 20, which is rough.
And who knows how long he was with his wife before she passed. But yeah, like he himself, maybe not so much. I enjoy that final panel after his argument with Dream, that Dream is only coming here because Dream wants a friend, and Dream gets so offended at the mere thought that a mortal would have any kind of sway over him. And the fact that the last panel is Hob waiting for him again after 100 years. And he shows up because he says, you know what? Yeah, you're my friend. That was a beautiful little panel.
It's just nice when things are nice, right? So like my choices were either Hob or Fiddler's Green, and we've kind of talked about both at this point, but like my thing for Hob is it's just nice when things are nice, and like terrible things happen to him in that volume, right? Like we talked about that, but he's an immortal and he made friends with one of the Endless, and like Dream's so dour all the time, you guys.
Yeah, that's
like,
the thing,
he's
is like
so
Dream,
dour all the time.
it was a nice, like, a wholesome moment with Dream is so fleeting in this series.
Yeah.
But he's smiling at his friend in that last panel. It's such a weird. You were talking about earlier how strange and like capricious that Morpheus can be in his like judgments on people. Like he's there to save Rose, and then he's there to kill Rose, not like an issue later. And then when he saves Rose from Funland, I hate that guy.
He's happy.
He
Yep,
gives
he's the worst, by the way.
who is in the middle of trying to rape and then murder Rose. He gives that monster a happy dream. Like
Surrounded
a
by
really
children.
nice dream. All his
Surrounded by
victims
children.
who forgive him for murdering and doing other horrible things to them. And then he like passes more horrible judgment on the other serial killers, but like he was really kind to that one who arguably was more of a monster than a lot of the other serial killers because, you know, children. It's just
I was
weird,
gonna
right?
like is worse than the Corinthian, maybe, because at least the Corinthian was like made the way he is. I don't know. That's a tough
We'll get into that when we get into Mike's question.
one.
But yeah, I don't know. I would argue that Funland is one of the worst, if not the worst, serial killer at the serial convention. And he gives him a happy ending, or at least a happy dream. He has to
I
wake up
gotta
from
be
that
careful
dream
with
at
that
some
term. He
point.
doesn't actually give him a happy ending.
Yeah. But I don't know. It's weird because Dream can be awful, but he can also show mercy. It's the same thing he did with with Dr. Destiny. Like Destiny almost drove the entire world insane and did horrible things to like many people. And Dream just forgives him and sends him right back to Arkham.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then at the same time in this volume, like he basically dismantles the dream world Lyta Hall has been living in, and is like, "Yeah, why were you doing that?" Like,
Yeah, she dismisses
it's not my
ghost of her
problem.
husband
Mm-hmm.
and says, "Oh, yeah, that kid that you've been brewing there for 2 years, that's mine. So take
That one's
care of
mine.
that."
You've been incubating that in my world, and that's how childbirth works. Little messed up there, Dream.
Yeah, and she's like horrified, rightfully so. Doesn't care, just like goes about his business.
Hey friends, this is a conversation we have to have after the third question.
Well, yeah, that's what I say. So we're getting
I'm
down
just
to
saying, do
things,
we want to
but
move
like
on? I think we've all talked about our faves. Let's talk about our least faves, or maybe not our least faves, but like people
I
who
would throw
do bad
Hal in there
things.
too for one of my favorite characters in this issue. I really appreciate Hal.
I did almost put Hal on my list, actually. It's close.
I felt like Hal was a really good friend to Rose.
He was.
Strange times.
I appreciate a drag queen in a story from the 90s. That's
And honestly, with all the other misfits in that house, right? Like he didn't really judge others. He just like, we're wacky. I do some weird things. They do some weird things. We live our lives.
mm-hmm.
As long as you don't make loud noises at night, we're fine.
Right?
Just fucking let me sleep, god damn it.
All right, Mike.
All right. So my question: Who is is it the worst person or the least moral person? I think
least moral is a good phrasing of the
who is
I'm
question.
gonna say if you change it, it's gonna change my answer.
who is the least moral person in this story? And let's all say what's the first thing that comes to our mind on 3, 2, 1. Dream.
Desire.
Dream.
What? It's totally desire, guys.
Is it? Man, this okay. Let's hear from Matt because I want to hear.
No, I want to hear from the two other people first.
Okay, we don't know exactly what Desire's endgame is. We see Desire playing games, but okay, let's take the prologue story where Dream falls in love with someone and she doesn't reciprocate it. And so what's the end result? She spends eternity in hell. Like
We actually met her in the first volume.
then
Mhm.
like it's holy fuck. Like I thought that person that was in hell deserved to be there, not just someone who, broke up with someone. Like
Didn't
It's
even
not
break
even-
up. They were never together.
they were
It's not even like a real. She's like, I don't want to be with you, not because I don't love you. It's because I fear for my people.
Mhm.
Rightfully so, because her people were killed
Mhm.
because she was with him.
And it was in holy shit, she's suffering eternal damnation because she cared, because she put other people's not desires, welfare, that's the word I'm looking for, before
Oh, no,
her.
you can keep using the word desire.
No.
That's fine.
Put other people's welfare before her own desire. There, I said it correctly. And we see that same streak throughout the rest of the book. Like you were just talking about him dismissing what's her face, Lita. I can't remember her name.
Lita Hall.
Lita Hall's husband. Like she'd been living in this
Hector.
for years, and it was.
He was actually the DC Comics Sandman.
Ugh.
Like he's a hero from DC Comics called
Yeah,
Sandman.
I love that bit where he just starts laughing at
You mortals, ha 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 ha.
just
That's great.
So good.
Anyway.
just and it's hard to. And then she's like, well, what now? And he's like, well, nothing. I'm done with you, except take care of that kid because I'm coming back for your
Coming
kid.
back for it.
It's my kid now.
Well, also it's in the dreams of a child who's been abused. Like this fake dreaming is a product of abuse done by creations of Dream.
And yes, he lost control due to reasons beyond his control, but holy fuck, these are your creations and this is what they do after they get out for a few years. Like Jesus Christ.
I mean, if you look at the Corinthian isn't doing anything beyond what it was created to do. Like it's just a product of what its master wanted it to be.
I mean, sort of. At the same time, obviously, it's not what he wanted it to be because he disintegrated the Corinthian.
Sure, but he didn't. Okay, but he didn't disintegrate the Corinthian because of its victims. It didn't do it because of the lives it took or the horror it created. Dream disintegrated the Corinthian because it wasn't living up to his expectations of it. He wasn't doing the horror that he wanted it to do.
Only dream horror. Only dream horror. That's it's more okay if it's just in dreams. Okay. I'm gonna try to be a devil's advocate here for Matthew because I can see his point that maybe that.
No. Let Matt make his
you're
own
right.
point.
You're right.
Let Mike argue my point for me.
Fuck
I
you,
don't have
Matt.
to do
No,
it.
I'm done. But Dream just he makes some questionable choices, and then tying back into Funland, like you
He
have
showed a lot of mercy
you
to that guy.
showed a whole lot of mercy to a guy who did not deserve it. And where was that mercy for Lita? Like someone who maybe deserved a little bit. She's obviously not well. Maybe let her meet up with her husband's at night. Or her husband's husband at night.
This man.
Like just maybe you got to be able to do
Just
something.
allow her to say goodbye.
Yeah, allow her to say
As
goodbye.
opposed to just ripping him away from
like
reality.
it doesn't seem like it's that hard of a thing to do. It just seems like he's a very self-serving character. At least that's the way he's made out to be to me in this book.
Would you say he just follows his desires without paying any attention to anything else?
If we're gonna say that, Matt, if we're gonna say it's only because he's at the whims of his own desires, and in that case, wouldn't Desire get a free card for only acting literally to their own nature?
No,
It's in their nature to scheme. It's in their
her
nature
nature is to be the
plot.
least moral character. It literally is what she is. Like, what are morals? They're constraints. Who has no constraints? Desire, because she wants everything. No, they want everything. Now I did it, Mike.
He did it
Get
a
me
few times.
again.
Come on.
He
Yeah.
desires a woman too. It's fine.
So, like, by like textbook definition, Desire is the least moral character in the volume. Because Desire has no morals, it just wants what it wants. Because like morals are constraints on your actions that you take for like societal and or like caring reasons. Desire don't care.
I don't see how you can say that about Desire, but not any of the like. Why is Dream held
Oh,
back
I'm
by
not disagreeing
anything?
with anything you guys said. I just think Desire is less moral. Because Dream at least makes like some choices that aren't self-serving in this.
But I think the fact that the fact that he makes some choices and not others is more damning for him than Desire, who obviously doesn't care to begin with.
So being 20% moral is worse than 0% moral
It
to you
is.
because
It
no,
is
it's not.
because Dream shows some mercy towards people who really shouldn't be shown mercy at all, and then doesn't spare a second for those that should. That's
And
worse.
Desire shows no mercy to anyone, and that's not worse.
Correct.
Sure, because
How? How though?
I would rather
But showing that we've never been shown that Desire has the capability to have mercy.
Yes, therefore least moral.
No.
There you go.
No,
You
Matt.
answered
Okay,
it.
Matt.
go take
Matt,
your English major and choke on it.
Hypothetically thinking, if a person had the capability to do a thing to help and chooses not to, that's worse than not doing anything to begin with. If someone's on fire, Matt, you're sitting there with a bucket of water and you don't do anything, you have like minimal effort, you could save a
So
life.
see, here in this situation, what I'm arguing is 1 times out of 5, Dream is gonna throw the bucket of water on the person, and 5 times out of 5, the only reason Desire would do it is if she like got something out of it.
They got something out of it.
Oh god damn it! Thanks, Mike.
I think it's worse that Dream has glints of being a decent.
See, here's another interpretation though. Like okay, so let's say there are 5 people on fire, and Dream has 1 bucket of water. Dream chooses to put out the serial murderer,
The one who started the fire.
the one who started all the fires, and the other 4 on fire are children. Like there are some things that are worse. Like just let him die, or just off him. It's just I don't know. Maybe I'm being too subjective, but
I don't expect morality from Desire.
Yes, because they are the least moral character. I would also very quickly argue that like the entire book, like everything bad that happens, is because of Desire.
fair point. I think this is going to be a conversation that comes back.
I mean, We asked the question in the last episode, so
Fair.
I feel like we'll keep hounding Dream.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys are being real tough on him. It's not like he does deserve it. He's kind of an asshole.
He's a complete asshole.
But he does show up to visit his friend.
He does show up to visit his friend. There you go.
It's the one time.
The one time. He did
And even then, he shows
once
up
out of every 100
because
years.
he wants a friend, not so much.
Kills Unity instead of Rose.
That's nice.
That's because at that point, Unity was the Vortex, right?
I mean, like, he could have just already had killed Rose at that point.
I mean, yes, he stopped for a couple seconds.
And it's
and
nice
then
that he
killed the
let Rose
Vortex.
live for a few more moments. That was a very kind gesture.
It's like a guy battling with his morals, it sounds like. I can't, you know what I will give you guys? I can't explain why Funland gets a happy dream other than, like, Neil Gaiman wanted to write this, like, weird, creepy happy dream for Funland. Because, like, Funland
The
should not get a
murdered,
happy
Funland
dream.
should not
the
have a
murdered
happy
kids.
No.
No, that's messed up. I will give you that. But I think by textbook definition, which may not be the correct answer in a non-textbook discussion, I think Desire is the least moral character in the volume.
You're probably correct, but I hazard that life is not a textbook, and the person that has the ability to do right yet chooses not to is more dangerous than the person that we know will always not do right.
I would argue there's a difference between moral and immoral. I would say Desire
Yeah.
is immoral in the fact that she lacks all morality.
Yes,
They lack
therefore
all
least moral,
morality.
0% moral
No,
on a scale of 0 to
no.
100%.
The question wasn't who is the most immoral. The question was who lacks
Who is
the
the
most.
least moral?
Yeah. To have the least amount of a thing, you have to have the thing.
God damn it.
I'm really glad we found what we really disagreed on this time. I've been waiting for 2 episodes.
Look it up, readers. Moral and immoral. There are 2 different words because they mean 2 different things.
There's no show notes on this one, so you're all on your own.
You know,
Oh,
morals are a type of mushroom too. I hear they're very good. You gotta hunt them.
shit.
It's morals.
Is that what you were talking about, Mike? Oh, no.
Yeah, I was really trying to
Who
talk about
has
who
the
has the
least
least morals.
mushrooms in this
Well,
book?
And
Fiddler's Green is out. Let me tell you
Fiddler's
right
Green has
now.
a whole shitload. I'm betting they're under
The
every
most moral is definitely Fiddler's Green, yeah. Oh, guys, we did a podcast. That was some
true.
good shouting at each other.
I'm glad we got there.
I enjoy shouting. I enjoy shouting at you guys.
But yeah, I guess that'll wrap it up for the second issue of the Dream Journal. Next time we'll be reading volume number 3, which I know the name of. I don't need to look up right now.
Is that Dream
I
Country?
totally should have got it for you.
Is that Dream
Mm,
I
Country?
forgot.
Dream Country. It's Dream Country.
I think it is Dream Country.
Guys, it's Dream Country.
Yes, join us next time when we read volume 3 of the Sandman, Dream Country. Thanks for listening. Bye.
Who?
Bye.